Hi, everyone. Hello. Good afternoon. Good afternoon to you. I hope we've had some lunch. We've taken lunch and now we are seated, waiting for this session and hoping the session goes well. So I hope you had a good morning, basically, and that you've taken some bit of lunch. You're feeling well. You're really energized for today's session. So let me just look at the charts. If you just joined us or if you're joining us, please feel free to introduce yourself. Where are you joining us from? What is your name? Are you in Accra? I don't know any other town in in Ghana. So you can also let me know in the chat section. So thank you so much. We're really happy to have you here. Udeme is happier to have you here. Okay. Hi, Udeme. Beautiful people. All right. I can see you're giving them adjectives. Okay. So we're really, really happy to have you here. We're here courtesy of the partnership between um, Impacta and Newig. And we've had a beautiful session so far talking about digital skills. It's been 7 sessions so far. We're in the eighth session, all right? The last session. This is the eighth out of the eighth session, and I hope you all had a wonderful time, right? So today, what you're going to look at is staying productive online. We've looked at how to build your brand and sell online. How do you get to the digital space? All right. Which digital space can you go to? How do you decide on the digital space? I mean, on the digital channel. Then we looked at creating your digital marketing plan. What are the components of a digital marketing plan? We looked at a case scenario. You remember there was Mondi the hairdresser. So we looked at the case scenario to basically give us an understanding of how you can get started with, creating your own plan. We looked at how you can use marketing tools and social media to grow your business. What are the different kind of marketing tools that you can use? Then we looked at creating your own digital marketing strategy. Okay. So what do you need to include in your strategy? Okay. So you've collected your audience insights, you've collected your marketing insights, you've looked at the different channels that are there for you. So how do you create your own strategy henceforth? Okay. Then we looked at using data and insights to grow your business. So you need to measure how each platform is working out for you. Okay. So you looked at the different data that you can use. I mean, how do you come up with questions to help you collect data? What are the platforms that you can use to collect data? We looked at the tools as well. There's there's Facebook Analytics, Hootsuite if you're using social media management platform. We looked at what is it? The Google Business Profile, how to create it, how to get verified, how to manage it, how to optimize it. We looked at the Google Search Console. We looked at Google Ads, and we looked at Google Analytics. Okay. Then right now, we also looked at the different tools of Google Workspace that was in the previous class now. The different tools of Google Workspace that you can use either for communication and collaboration within your business. And I hope, since I can remember them top of my head, I hope that you can also remember them top of your head. Afiba from Accra and Glory from Kano. I'm really, really happy to have you here. So if I can remember them top of my head, I'm hoping that you can also remember them top of your head. Remember, you can always access the recording of each session with the same link. Okay. So you can always, hi, Musa Biaya. Hi. So remember, you can always access the recording of the previous sessions with the same session links. So just to refresh your memory, get a better understanding of what was talked about. So our focus today is on staying productive online. How do you stay productive online? Okay. Right now, I'm being very productive. I'm taking the session and I'm working remotely basically. Okay. Udeme is here, my team member. We're using the different tools for communication collaboration. So you can see whatever it is that we talk about is basically what we are putting into action as an organization ourselves. Okay. From Gwagwalada, Abuja. Ah, nice. Musab, I see you. So please uh, go ahead and click on the like button, the thumbs up button, like the session, subscribe to our YouTube channel, click on the bell icon to get notifications of other future sessions. Okay, so feel free to do that. We'll move on to the next part of our session. Basically, we'll get into what we want to look at today. You're working remotely. How do you set up your remote office to ensure that you don't have distractions? How do you build a productive work environment? All right. And then managing and maintaining your well being. Because at the end of it all, there's no way you can be productive if your mental state, sorry, is not good, is not stable. Okay, so you need to have a healthy working environment. How do you create that? Okay, so that's what we're going to look at. And I hope throughout the 7 sessions we took time to apply for the Google Hustle Academy on g.co/hustle academy. Please, the link will be dropped in the chat section. Okay, please click on it and sign up. I hope that during the 7 sessions, but better late than never anyway. So click on the link and sign up. You're being taught on how to pitch your business. Okay, how do you come up with your own finances? All right, your financial books. You're looking at your financial forecast. Okay, how do you come about that? Contingent financial planning. Okay, financial planning contingency. Either way is right. Okay, the reverse is true. So how do you come about with that? Okay, how do you create your own pitching decks, right? How do you do your own business strategy? What do you need to put in place to grow the revenue of a business, right? You want to get started with digital marketing, the practical bit of it now. Okay, and also content development. How do you get started with that? So these are basically some of the things that are being covered in the Hustle Academy. You also paired with a mentor for free. Can you imagine getting a mentor to walk you through the entrepreneurship journey? So that's also a good thing. Remember to sign up for Google Hustle Academy for that. So basically, before we start the session, I would like you to tell me uh, how did COVID impact your role, whether it's in business or you were employed before? How did it impact your role? Or if the impact is still there, how is it? Tell me about it. Let me see your experience with COVID. How did COVID impact your role? Musab, Afiba, Glory. How did COVID impact your role? How did COVID impact your role? So I'll be waiting for your responses. We will just be stuck here until I see your responses. I'd like us to be very interactive. You can see Udeme with a lot of energy in the chat section. Please utilize that energy. All right. Utilize that energy. Ask him questions. You can even ask him where he stays. You can do a visit. Either way, let's all. I'm basically just trying to tell you, let's get to know each other. All right. So any responses? How did COVID impact your role? How did COVID impact your role? I mean, if your business was there before, did you get now your sales reduced or your market closed down? Or if you are employed, maybe you took a pay cut. Okay. You understood the importance of working virtually. It could be any way. All right, it could be any way. So technically, how did it impact your role? I don't know. I wasn't there with you, so I can't know. So any responses, please? Do I have any responses? Okay, so we'll just move on. I will come back to look at your responses in the next few slides. After the next few slides, I'll come back to look at the responses. So remember, the first agenda we said we're going to cover is setting up your remote office. Okay, how do you set up your own remote office? I wish I could take a photo of my working space right now. So I basically work remotely. I'm fully remote. So obviously I need to have a secluded place in my house where I can set up my own office. But before you do that, before getting to understand why you need to set up your remote. What is remote working? All right. What is remote working? It's basically working style that allows professionals to work outside of the traditional office environment. So you're not limited to going to the office. Okay. It could be you're working in your house. It could be you're going to a cafe. It could be you're going to a shared working space. Okay. But you're not restricted to the office environment, all right, to where your office is. So that is basically what remote working is. Like I've said, it could be at home. Okay. For example, Beryl, for example, Udemy, we all work from home. It could be a coffee shop. Okay. So there are coffee shops that allow for you to go and work there. So they have like specific benches secluded, maybe the VIP room. You can plug in your there are sockets, you can plug in your laptop. Okay. It's a cool place, serene, to take meetings, because you're also looking at, you don't want to go to a coffee shop that's bursting with noise. Okay. So there's also the coffee shop. You can do a co-working space. So there are also businesses that came up, actually, especially during the COVID era, and they support co-working spaces. So you lease out like a working space for like a day. So like in Kenya, I think near where I stay, there's a place where you can pay like 1,500 Kenya shillings in a day, and you get the full day, a whole full day. You get a working space. They provide internet as well. You can plug in your laptop. It's like a library, more or less. All right. And I've even gone to the next thing, which is the library. You can decide to go and work in a library as well. So these are some of the places that you can work remotely. You can see that it's not restricted to going to your office specifically. Okay. So what do you think you need to work remotely? Musab, through virtual meeting and COVID protocols. Afiba, was employed by then, stayed home during the lockdown, and resumed work immediately with my business sales went down a bit. It happens, okay? It happens. And I'm sure that when the sales went down a bit, you tried and figured out, what can I do better to ensure that I increase my sales, okay? So adapting your strategy to current situations. It's very important to be adaptive, okay? To be flexible. Nothing is cast on stone, okay? There is nothing that's cast on stone, especially in entrepreneurship. You should be able to make changes to your business when and if it gets to that, okay? So what do you need to do? What do you need to work remotely? What are some of the things that you need? First, you need a dedicated work space, a space to basically separate work from home, right? So um, assuming like right now I'm working fully remote and I have several meetings during the day. Imagine me taking my meetings from bed or in bed, right? And I have to put my camera on. So I'm training you guys, and then I'm in bed. You can see my camera, you can see my pillows over there, you can see my curtains, you can see my wardrobe. It doesn't make sense at all. It's not nice, it's not aesthetic, okay? So you need to have a dedicated workspace. And if I was working, in bed, if there's a time I feel like I need to take a walk, I'll just close the laptop and sleep. All right. And then, so there's that bit of reduced productivity. So you need to set up your own place. It could be you can have a nice chair, because you also don't want to hurt your back. So you can have a nice chair. You can get orthopedic chairs. There are orthopedic chairs. You can have a nice table where you can place your books, right? You need to have a notebook. It's very important to have a notebook to be taking notes for when you're working, okay? So it could be at the corner of your sitting room, at the corner of your bedroom, but a place where you're not at risk of distractions, right? And then you need to check your devices. So where I'm seated, do I have a socket near where I am? Okay. I need to be plugged in. I can't be taking meetings and then my laptop goes off during my training. Okay. So I need to look at my laptop. I need to have a laptop. Obviously, my phone should be next to me in case my team members want to call me. Okay. My extension should be next to me. If the socket is a bit far, I can use an extension. I need to check my Wi-Fi. Okay, is my Wi-Fi okay? So I need to also have a backup, backup internet device. So if it's my Wi-Fi and it goes off, I can decide to hotspot my phone. All right. So I can always continue with my meetings. All right. So those are some of the things that you need to do to ensure that, there's some of the things that you need to have to ensure that your remote working is efficient and you're still effective. Okay. So I've talked about the devices, I've talked about the internet as well. When you're creating your own space, you need to avoid the bed or couch. Find a space that will make you become productive. Okay, working remotely does not give you the excuse of not being productive. It doesn't give you the excuse of being unproductive, right? So you have to avoid things that will make you seem like you're comfortable. Okay, and then have your chair. Please invest in a good chair. If it's an orthopedic chair, invest in a good chair. Make sure your space is comfortable and then consider your posture. Because at the end of it all, since you're spending so much time, and most people don't know that with remote working, you actually spend more time working. You have longer working hours. Funny thing, you avoid the traffic of going outside, you avoid distractions from colleagues, in your storytelling on Monday about how the weekend went. But you have longer working hours, so you need to invest in maybe a chair or a desk, or something that will not hurt you in the long term. All right. Then what you need obviously is a phone. I need to be close to my phone. You can see I have my phone here. Okay, so I have my phone here, and then I have my laptop obviously, and then I have my notebook to be taking notes of anything. If you have an important question and I need to take it down, or I'm having meetings, I have my notebook with me. Okay. So remember also when you're working, I know we need water, especially when you're taking a lot of meetings like we do here at Impacta. You need to have water. But the most basic thing, I think, I have a friend of mine who was, they started taking IT as a course in campus. And the first thing, so she was telling me, the first thing the lecturer told them is never have an open mug or an open bottle of water next to your laptop on your working space. So sometimes you might knock it down. You don't that this is not even in terms to your remote working. Even if you're working in the office, don't have an open mug or an open bottle of water or liquid next to your laptop. You want to avoid accidents. Okay, like if I knock it down a bit and then all the water pours on my laptop. Do you understand? So those are some of the things that you need. Put things that will distract you or cause any harm away from you, and stay with things that will ensure that you're productive. Ensure that you have stable power. You need to ensure that you have stable power. So I have to check, is my power okay, right? And then, do I have a generator? If I can afford that generator, all right, does it have enough fuel so that when my lights go off, I can always just click on, switch on my generator if I have to switch it on, or it can kick in instantly when my lights go off. So you can also do solar powered devices or inverters. Look at, basically backup power, because sometimes if you lose your power, if the power goes off for like 2 days or 3 days, does it mean that you will not be working? No, you still need to continue working. Your employer will expect you to continue working. So you need to look at backup, power backups that can, you can use them to, they can, that you can use them as backup in case anything happens to your main power supply. And then there's also power banks. Right now, there are even power banks that you can use for your laptop, not necessarily your phone. Okay. So you can also decide on power banks. And when you're looking at finding sufficient internet connections, some of the right things is choose the right internet service provider. Look at the internet service providers within your area. Sometimes I know we go for the cheap ones. Okay, so they provide you maybe with 20, if it's GB of data. No, if they provide you like 5 GB, is it 5 GB? Yes, or 4 GB at around 1,200 Kenya shillings. So you want to go for them because they're cheap, but your workload is usually very heavy, so you need higher gigabytes to work with. Okay, so maybe you're running a lot of apps, all those things. You have so many devices plugged in, devices that use the internet. So you need to look at the most um, dependable internet service provider. Okay, then you can have an alternative internet service provider. I know Udemy has three internet service providers. Okay, I think there's the MTN Wi-Fi, I think. Then he has a MiFi. Then he has the his phone now with the data bundles that he can hotspot. So if the main Wi-Fi goes off, he switches on to the MiFi. If it doesn't work, he switches on to the phone hotspot. Okay, so you can always look at substitutes of internet service provider and then find the right router. You don't want to go for a router that will is slow, that sometimes just go off. So choose the right router. I don't know about how it is in Nigeria, but what normally happens here is if I get an internet service provider, so I'm using one that's called Safaricom. They're the main, so it's fiber, and I've seen that right now they've just introduced the 5G net, the 5G internet. Okay, so there's fiber, and then I this. So what normally happens is when I contract them to install for me Wi-Fi, they come with their routers and everything. I pay for that. Okay, so I don't know how it happens with yours. I don't know if you need to get a separate router then have it installed. I'm not sure, but I mean, if you have a service provider who can do everything for you, why not? Okay, then you can plug into your Wi-Fi, ensure you plug into your Wi-Fi, test and compare internet speeds, which is fast, which is slow. Basically, look at what will be efficient for you. Okay, so we're going to look at basically the challenges of remote working. So we'll also look at the challenges of remote working. As we move along the session, please feel free to drop your comments, feel free to drop your questions, feel free to drop your responses. If you want me to go back to a previous slide, please feel free to let me know as well. I just want us to be on the same page, okay? So the challenges of working remotely, one of the things is loneliness. There's lack of social interaction, all right? I usually just joke with my friends. I tell them, over the weekends I have to go out of the house because from Monday to Friday, I don't talk to anyone like in person. I rarely leave the house. So you find that maybe Sundays or over the weekend, I buy food for the whole week and stock them maybe in the fridge. If it's meat, because you'll need to freeze them, I'll put them in the fridge. So if it's bread, I'll buy for the whole week. Anything I need, I'll buy for the whole week. So you find that Monday to Friday, I rarely leave the house, right? I may just step outside my balcony to get some bit of sun, right, in between my sessions, but I have no interaction, okay? So there's a lot of loneliness involved, and then there's self-discipline, right? Being remote, it means that you understand that I need to work from this time to this time, right? I need to give 8 hours of my time, of my productive time to impactor. Okay. So there's no one to be calling me and tell me, you know what, Beryl, why can't I find you? Beryl, why are you not online? Beryl, I've sent you an email. You've not responded. Okay. So it needs to be self-discipline. It requires a lot of self-discipline, which takes you back to your self-drive. What is your self-drive? Okay. There are no employee benefits. If Impactor in Lagos is giving people, transport allowance, I can't get transport allowance. I'm not going anywhere, right? So people go to the office, they get a 10 a.m. tea break, they're offered tea and, an accompaniment, they're offered lunch. I have to make my own lunch, okay? So there are no employee benefits and it's hard to switch off because you should always be available to your team members, okay? I know that at any one point, I should be available to Udemy in case they need my help, okay? I should be available to Judith in case they need my help. So can you imagine me taking the session and then my internet goes off and maybe Udemy was not in this session, okay? So someone has to take over while I sort my internet. Obviously, I would call Udemy and tell him, you know what, Udemy, please step in on my session while I sort my internet. I'm coming back, okay? So imagine calling him and he's not available and you're all waiting on the call for the session to continue. So it's a bit hard. That's why it's really hard to switch off. And then there's the missing out, fear of missing out. So I have people in Nigeria from Impacta, they have a physical team bonding. They're going out, hanging out, having the end year party, and I'm here all alone looking at photos as they post them on the WhatsApp group. So there's also FOMO associated. And the benefits of remote working, it's flexibility, right? I know I'm supposed to give 8 hours. I can work um, technically I'm supposed to clock in from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. I can start my work from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. or 12 to 9 p.m. But I should understand that regardless of the time that I choose, when people are working, the specific working time, I should still be available, right? And then there's no commuting. I'm not dealing with any traffic jam. I'm not dealing with the touts. I'm not dealing with the dust outside. Okay. So there's no commuting. It's time with family. So assuming you're working and you have to go to a different, maybe your workspace is a bit far, your office is a bit far, and you have to commute. So you leave the house at like 5 a.m. By the time you get back, take into consideration the traffic, it's around 9 p.m. or 10 p.m. Maybe you have a child, and by the time you leave the house, they're sleeping. By the time you get back, they've gone to sleep. So you miss a lot of time with your family, all right? But the benefits of remote working, you're always available, okay? And there's less distraction. Once I sit here and I communicate, please, I have a meeting from 8 to 1. No one to come to my table. Don't talk to me from 8 to 1. I'm very busy. I'll only be able to respond to you past 1. Okay. So people know what time to reach out to you when you're working. So you have less distraction. And then usually when you go to the office, you have, like on Monday, it's usually a slow day for people. So people want to talk about how the weekend was. Then they talk about how they hate Mondays. They talk about how they can't wait for Friday to get there. Okay. By the time they realize it's already like 1 p.m. or 2 p.m., you've not done anything. You've only been, passing time with stories. Okay. And there's also high morale with working remotely. There's usually high morale. Okay. You understand what is expected. You don't want to be followed. You understand the expectations. You want to always, if it's turnaround time on project or task, you want to be on time with that. Okay. Then for businesses, what are the benefits? So there's reduced overhead cost. There's no cost for, if people come to the office, you have to pay for water bill, you have to pay for cleaners, you have to pay for electricity bill. So obviously, if you have your workers working remotely, there's reduced overhead cost. Then there's greater productivity, which basically takes you back to, if people are less distracted and people have high morale, then they are able to be more productive. And then you have access to a wider pool of talent. So it's basically like Impacta. Impacta has employees all over Africa. Okay. So there's me in Kenya dealing with partnerships. There's someone else in Mozambique dealing with partnerships. Then we have other people in Cameroon. We have other people in Benin. Okay. So you're not limited to the talent pool within your location. Okay. You're able to get people outside where you're situated and still work together seamlessly toward one common goal. And then obviously improved employee retention, because the more people are, takes you back to this slide, the more people are flexible, they have a good work-life balance, then they are, they're satisfied with their role. So obviously there would be no need for them to just leave. So there's also improved employee retention. So do I have any questions up to that point? Any questions, please? Feel free to drop your questions. Feel free to drop your questions kindly. If there are no questions, also indicate no question. Then no questions, please indicate no question so that we can move on to the next part of our slide. If there are no questions, please indicate no questions so we can move on to the next part of our session. Thank you, Afiba. Afiba says no questions. All right. So moving on to the next part of our session, what we're going to talk about is now building your own productive work environment. So building your own productive work environment. How do you get started with building your work environment? How can you ensure that it's productive? So why your work environment is important? The first thing, you need to do is look at the quality of your workspace. Okay, so you need to designate an area, and I give an example. It could be a corner of your bedroom, right, that has good lighting, that, when I'm taking meetings, people are not able to see my bed and my pillows and my wardrobe. If it's unkempt, they're not able to see all those things. Okay, find the right chair for you. Okay. So I can't show you a photo of my chair, but it's a nice chair. It won't hurt my back. All right. And then get a filing system to organize your life. Okay. So have a file, especially assuming you have to look you have to look so much into your business's accounts. You can decide to organize your life with a filing system. If it's physical file, ensure you have incoming mails and outgoing mails from you. And then if it's virtual, if it's the virtual files, you talked about this in the last session. You can decide to have your folders, different folders on the Google Workspace. So you can decide on Google Drive, open different folders, save your items on different folders. Okay, so get a filing system to organize your life. So when you're looking at remote working, we see that 40%, there's a 40% decrease in productivity due to workplace distractions and 27% increase in errors. Okay, so this basically takes me back to the example that I gave on. This basically takes me back to the example that I gave on, Mondays when people go to the office. Okay, they still want to talk about the weekend. Okay, so passing time, or Fridays in the afternoon. Most people are usually very not productive on Fridays in the afternoon. So they just can't wait to step out of the office and just start their weekend. Okay. So there's a 40% decrease in productivity due to workplace distractions and 27% increase in errors. So Udeme is busy working on a strategy, and Beryl comes to his desk, and I'm like, Udeme, I need to talk to you about something. And he's asking me what is the problem, and I start talking to him about my personal life. I talk about anything and everything. I talk about TV programs. He's already distracted. Okay, he has the capability of making errors in whatever he's doing. Okay, because of distractions. So those are not some of the things that you get with people going to the office. So, and basically, how do you minimize these distractions? How do you ensure that you minimize these distractions, right? How do you ensure that you minimize these distractions? So the first thing, you need to let others know your work hours. Let others know your work hours. And I gave an example. So assuming, and I gave an example. So assuming, let's say it's like now remote working, my friends basically know. Okay, you can call me anytime you want between 8 and 9 a.m. in the morning. I will pick up. But when I start working, because sometimes you have meetings starting as early as 9, right? You don't have time to do stories. The friends who call you and you take like 1 hour on the call, you don't have time for that. Okay, it's a bit distracting. So, and they know past, in the evening, I'll always call Beryl in the evening. It's very hard to find Beryl during the day. Okay, so there's that. You let others know your work hours to avoid distractions, right? So even, and this applies also in the office. When I get to the office, please just talk to me during tea break, or talk to me during lunch break, or talk to me when I'm leaving the office. But the other times I need to be serious with my work. I need to get things moving, and then do one thing at a time. Every day, ensure you have a to-do list. What's your to-do list? What do you want to achieve for that day? All right. Are you looking at doing decks today? How many trainings do you have? How many meetings do you have? And we talked about scheduling meetings in the last class, right? So you need to ensure that you schedule your meetings using the calendar. So when I wake up in the morning, the first thing I do, I look at my calendar. I understand how many meetings I have for that day. So I'm not going to miss the meetings, right? Because I already know what I'm supposed to do. So do one thing at a time, complete one thing at a time, and then avoid TV and household distractions. I don't have my TV on, I don't have my radio on. It's not like they're not here. Because I need to understand that it's time for work, I'm concentrating for work. Put away all pets. So you don't have your dog barking during you don't have your dog barking during meetings, serious meetings. Okay, and then take regular breaks. You cannot just work. So you need to take regular breaks. All right. So if you get in the morning like 9 to around noon, all right. Remember, I said sometimes I step out and go to my balcony, get some sun, okay? Because your mind, you need to rejuvenate your mind. You need to rejuvenate your mind, okay? So take regular breaks. You can say to work for 2 or 3 hours, take a few minutes break. But when you're taking the break, communicate to your team members. All right, I've taken a 10-minute break. Okay, I'll look at your email after 10 minutes. All right. So it's also important to communicate that. And then how do you improve productivity within teams? There's a project management tools that you can use to track how projects are going on within teams. There's Mural, there's Asana, there's Trello, and there's Basecamp, right? So as to ensure that there's seamless project management, okay, to see how you can collaborate with team members, all right, and to track how projects are going from the planning stage to implementation stage to the closing stage, all right. The first thing you need to ensure your team understands is the vision and deliverables. What are the expectations? What are your expectations of them? Okay. What do you want to achieve as the training team? And then as the larger impact her team, what do we want to achieve? Right? What is Udemy supposed to do? What is Beryl supposed to do? What is Amarachi supposed to do? So establish vision and deliverables, then logistics for team communication. If I need if maybe Udemy needs access to Trello, ensure that we facilitate that. If it's getting them, if it's getting everyone in the team data money or data to ensure that they are always online, so you ensure that you do that, okay, so that they don't say, I was not in the meeting, or I didn't attend the meetings, or I don't do this because I don't have data, okay? So you can also, as an organization, you can tell them, you know what, I'll cater for your data costs. Okay, if you feel it's a bit too much for you as an organization, you can decide to split the cost in half. So you tell them, I'll pay for half of your data, you pay for half of your data as well, right? And then promote visibility and transparency. Okay, promote visibility and transparency of everything that's going on in the organization. It basically also helps with the team members or the employees feeling open to talk, right, in case of anything. Track quality and status of projects. I have to check whether whatever Beryl is doing is up to par with our quality standards. Okay, so a lot of quality reviewing and quality analysis. Where are we at with projects? When was this project supposed to end? Why are we stuck here? What can we do better? Right? Then identify and address bottlenecks, which is basically what I've talked about. So what are the challenges that we're experiencing in successfully executing this project? Do we need more resources? What do we need? Right? So there's that project management. So looking at data as well, we have 70% of workplace mistakes are due to poor communication. 70% of workplace mistakes are due to poor communication. All right. So I give Udemy a task, right? I give him a task and I tell him, you know what, just do it, and I leave it at that. I don't tell him how I would want it done. I don't tell him what I expect for him. I expect him to do the work. I just give him and leave. Okay. Then when he brings, so maybe he delivers it on the last deadline date, and I have to give it to a partner. So I'm looking at it and I'm like, why is this here? Why did you include this? Why didn't you do this? But I didn't communicate to him what I wanted. All right. So ensure that you improve the communication in your workplace. We looked at the different communication tools that you can use. You can have, if it's instant messaging, you can decide on WhatsApp, you can decide on Slack. If it is, what else? Professional communication, you can do emails. If you want to have meetings or presentations, you can have Zoom, you can have Google Meet, you can have Microsoft Teams, right? So you need to ensure there's a lot of communication. I've talked about, actually, this was bringing us to my next slide on communication, right? You can decide on email for more formal conversations, instant messaging. You can decide on Slack. You can decide on you can decide on WhatsApp, okay, depending. And then collaboration tools. There's also Google Hangouts, all right? There's also Google Hangouts for chat, all right? And then collaboration tools, we can decide also the deck that I gave Udemy, I can decide, you know what, add me as a collaborator on that deck. I'll assist you with it. So we work on the deck together real time. Okay. So I assist him with corrections, with amendments, with additions on that same deck. Right. So those are the tools that you can use for collaboration. And I think this basically takes us to what we discussed on the last session, right? Then setting rules for effective communication. It's very important as a business, as an organization, to set rules for effective communication. So the first thing, you need to communicate clearly. Communicate clearly what is expected. Communicate clearly any task that you need done, right? Think about the type of message and the context of that message. What is the context? All right. This is a work environment. It's a business environment. I can't talk to people the way I would talk to my friends here at home. Okay. Respond promptly. What is the turnaround time for responses? Right? Is it on emails? You can decide, I need all emails to be responded to in maybe 2 hours. Okay. So if I see Udemy sent out an email, then a client responded, then 5 hours later, there's no response again. I can go to Udemy and tell them, you know what, the policy says turnaround time for communication is 2 hours. It's 5 hours down the line. The client is still waiting for your response. So you can hold people accountable to that, right? So it's very important to have rules set and role model the guidelines yourself. Then when you're doing video meets and calls, sometimes it's important to always touch base with your team members or people in your business. It's very important to touch base with them. So how do you do that? You can use video tools, video conferencing tools. So there's Google Meet, there's Zoom, there's Microsoft Teams, and Skype. I think Skype started this whole thing, right? Before every other platform you can see here. Skype, I think, was the first video conferencing tool, if I'm not wrong, right? So there's also Skype, right? That you can have video conference messages, presentations on. I've talked about Google Meet. So with Google Meet, able to do presentations. We can have many people on the call, right? Then the Zoom, you can do your demos as well on Zoom. Zoom offers the feature of recording also, all right? So you can record a presentation, a call. So the Zoom meetings, the Zoom webinars can take more than 100 people. Zoom meetings take up to 100 people, but you have to pay for the Zoom webinar feature. All right. You can get registrations from people to join the call or the meeting, right? So there's that. The free Zoom basically offers, the free Zoom is where you can get, you can set up meetings, but up to 100 people, and you can only record it up to the 40th minute. Okay. But if you pay for Zoom Premium, obviously there are more additional features to it. Then there's also Microsoft Teams. They basically have the same functionality. All right, they have the same functionality. You can chat, you can talk on call, you can present, you can share documents and collaborate. All right. So that's it about this. And I think with Zoom, I haven't used Microsoft Teams a lot. So with the Zoom, with the Google Meet, and with Skype, so assuming I have a background and it's a bit distracting, I can blur my background, right? I can blur my background, or I can choose a virtual background. So basically change my background to reduce any distractions, right? Then when you want to set up meetings, so you want to set up meetings, you want to run meetings. I can't just wake up and send out and say, attend this meeting. The meeting does not have an agenda. So people come into the meeting and they're like, why do we even have this meeting? It's important to set agendas. Why are you having that meeting? What is the agenda? What is the purpose of that meeting? Consider your tone of voice. Who are you talking to? How are you addressing them? This basically takes you back to the context. We talked about the context of your message. Encourage using cameras. It's very good with seeing the what is it called? The non-verbal cues of people. It helps with communication, right? And then be timely. If I set the meeting at 4, it means that by 3:30, 3:45, 3:50, I'm on that call, right? So I don't wait for 4 to get on the call and then I have network issues that I didn't anticipate. So get on calls a bit earlier to, if there are any issues, you're able to work around the issues effectively. Then for video conferencing, prepare yourself. Obviously, you don't want to look like you don't know what you're saying, right? You don't want people to see from your facial expressions how unsure you are. Dress appropriately. It's fine that you're working remote, but you need to be presentable. Consider your lighting. You need to have a good lighting. Your background. I mentioned that there's an option of choosing a virtual background and then choosing your audio as well. You need to be clear in whatever you're communicating. So top tips for collaborating effectively is basically equipping your team with the right tools. Do they need laptops? Do they need power banks? What do they need? Do they need that I cater for their data charges, right? How do I make project management easier? We looked at Trello, we looked at Asana, the different tools that you can use. Making document sharing easy. We've looked at the Google Docs, there's Google Forms, there's Google Sheets, there's Google Slides. This was mostly talked about in the previous session, right? It's the same thing with collaboration. I can decide to put my files also on my Google Drive and share my files with Udemy. Just give Udemy access to my folder on the drive. They're able to access the documents and then prioritize company culture. What is the company culture about? Okay, is it about togetherness? Is it about Ubuntu? What is the company culture? Prioritize that. And then the thing with productivity that basically even helps with remote working, especially over communicate. It is better to over communicate than to under communicate. All right. Some people might feel like, oh, Udemy is sending too many messages or barely sending two messages. It's better to over communicate than under communicate. It helps with solving any issues that might come up in the future. Then be disciplined. Always be available to your team members. Be disciplined in terms of your work. Be disciplined in terms of your productivity. And then find your booster and use it. What gets you energized? What gets you energized? Sometimes when I feel like I've taken so much time, I mostly even take like 10 minutes or 15 minutes break. All right. And I feel like the rest, I needed that rest. So when I get back to my working space, I can get back to being productive. All right. Maybe your booster is eating. I don't know. So find your booster and use it. Any more questions? More information on quality review and quality deliverables. Quality. So I said you need to set expectations and deliverables. Okay. So each member of your team needs to understand what is required of them, right? So they understand that by the end of the week, they're supposed to give me a report on this. They're supposed to have done this. They're supposed to have done this. So when everyone understands their deliverables, they know what they're supposed to do. And then on quality review, so assuming we're working on a project together with Udemy, okay? So I can do a lot of quality analysis and quality review on the document. So he can share with me the document. If he's working on it if it's a Google slide, he can add me to the form, give me editor collaborations or or viewer rights or editor rights on the form. So I'm able to see what he's doing and I'm able to make any adjustment to it and recommendations to it, right? So it's the same thing with working with the project management tools. So you're able to track where you are with projects, how are the projects, because at the end of the day, there's the quality standard that needs to be adhered to, all right? If it's the company's quality standard or if it is the partner's quality standard that you need to adhere to. So someone needs to be checking this is where the project is. I'm looking at the quality of the output. How good is it? Okay. So those are the things that I mean when I say quality review. So that's what I mean when I say quality review. Okay. So any other question, please? We'll move on to the last part of our session. Do I have any other question? Any other question? Musab, Afiba, Glory. Do I have any other question, please? Any question? Any further question? All right. So I'll come back to look at the questions while we move on to the last part of our session, managing and maintaining your well-being. Remember, I said that there's no way you're able to be productive if you're not in a stable mental state, right? So how do you manage, and why is it important to manage your well-being? All right. The first thing, it impacts your overall health. You know, sometimes when people are depressed, you find that they even get sick from, they start being sick generally, okay, because they're depressed, all right, because they're stressed, they're distressed. So they, it even affects their overall health. So if you don't check on your mental well-being, you basically will affect your overall being. Okay. And then a good mental state ensures that you have greater productivity. It increases your resilience and it boosts your morale and levels of happiness. If I am unhappy, most of the times unhappy people don't have high morale. Okay. I can pretend to have a high morale for like a few minutes because people are there, but when I get back to my space, I will just feel, you know what, I won't even have energy to do anything. Okay. So that's why it's important to ensure that you manage your mental well being. How do you get started with that? What do you do? Avoid overworking and ensure you take regular breaks. Okay. So you know that I know I have so much to do today. I really know I have so much to do today. But maybe after 2 or 3 hours, I'll take a break. All right. Maybe I'll go to my balcony, take a walk. Okay. If I've worked maybe 5 hours straight, 6 hours straight, I can decide to do a 20-minute walk or 15 minutes walk. So go outside, take a walk, then come back. Okay. So remember to set reminders to take breaks, especially if you have a busy day. Sometimes you find that the day has ended, you even forgot to eat lunch because you've been busy. All right. So remember to set up reminders to take breaks. Be clear with your team when you're leaving. I don't want Udemy to send me emails. I've gone out for my walk. And Udemy is sending me emails. I've left my phone here, sending me messages. Why can't I find you? You're supposed to be working. So be clear with the team when you're leaving. Turn off notifications when on a break. All right. And then schedule an activity, like it's either taking a walk, you want to ride a bike, you want to go to the gym at the end of the day. So basically to decompress. All right. So you can say at the end of the day, I'll be taking a walk, or at the end of the day, I will be going to the gym. Okay. So basically decompress your mind. And then always be ready for a culture shift. Always be ready for a culture shift. And for this, these are the things you need to consider. Trust your overall performance. Understand your vision. Basically, that's it. Understand your vision. Rethink the concept of work. You need to be flexible. Rethink the concept of work. You need to be flexible. All right. Understand your commitments and be patient. And I think what I'm talking about is not necessarily from an employee perspective, it's also from an employer perspective. Because if you're empathetic, if you understand your employee's position and their way of thinking, you're obviously able to know how to deal with them or your offerings to them, or how to ensure that you can get them productive. Okay. So that's how you can be ready for culture shift. Then when you need to manage your overall well-being, I've talked about exercising regularly. Exercise regularly. If it's twice a week, if it's thrice a week, exercise. It helps with decompressing your mind. All right. And then view mental health as seriously as physical health, right? Don't let it just be that, you know what, one of my team members has malaria, is when I understand as an employer, oh, it's that bad. You know, an employee can decide, you know what, I'm depressed, I can't even work. You need to be understanding, to understand that person and figure out how can we help you. Okay. Do you need us to get you a counselor? Do you need to go, do you need some leave? All right. Do you need to apply for leave? Can we give you some time to go and recuperate? Okay. So make sure you view mental health as seriously as physical health. Check in with your manager or team regularly. Okay. So ensure, like right now, I have an immediate manager. I'll always go to her and ask her, Clem, this is what I've done, this is what I've done, this is what I've done. What do you think? I want to reach out to this partner because of this. What are your thoughts around it? Okay, what do you consider? Do you think I should do this? What do you think about the previous training that we had? Okay, so always check in with your manager, with your team. How are you guys? How are you doing? Are you coping up well? Do you need help with anything? Okay, so check in with your manager or team regularly. Separate your professional and personal lives. So basically, that's having the work-life balance. All right, it's very important to have a work-life balance, because if you don't have a work-life balance, if either of the two suffers, then you will also end up suffering. Okay, so it's very important to have a work-life balance. Organize in-person social meetups. So one day I will come to Nigeria courtesy of Impactor. I know people in Impact already have physical team bondings and year parties. So it's very good to have in-person social meetups as well. All right. It's very important to have in-person social meetups as well. Very, very, very important. Okay. So do I have any questions? Do I have any questions? Afiba says no questions. Udeme, thank you. Thank you, Udeme. Thank you so much for that. All right. So are there any things that you need me to go back to? Is there anything you need me to go back to? Anything you need me to respond to? I would be really, really happy to go back. So maybe even before we talk about that, maybe you can drop for me in the chat section what has been your experience so far. Afiba, I know you have been very uh, consistent with attending the trainings. So maybe just let me know what your experience has been. I wish we would be able to unmute ourselves and basically have a discussion. What has your experience been with the training? This is the final training. This has been our final training for this series. So we've completed our training series. I think basically to go over what we talked about, we said there was building your brand and selling online, creating your own digital marketing plan, using marketing tools and social media to grow your business, create your own digital marketing strategy, get set up on Google My Business, implement Google Workspace across your business, and then using data and insights. And then the last topic today was looking at how you can stay productive online. So maybe just let me know about what has been your experience so far with the training. What do you think about the training? What did you learn? What can we do better as Impact Her to ensure that we have the most impact in the next sessions? Any feedback, please? Any feedback? Any feedback? Any feedback kindly? So while at it, remember to sign up for the Google Hustle Academy. Afiba, yes, I've learned and relearned a lot of things, and I'm glad I joined this training. Thank you so much, Afiba, for that feedback. That is really good. It's very encouraging. Thank you. Thank you so much. Yes. Thank you, Udeme. You can also remember to join the Google Hustle Academy. Udeme, please also post the attendance form so that we can have the participants, the attendees fill in the attendance form for their certificates. Okay. So ensure you input your correct name for the certificates. Please, Udeme, drop the certificate link. Make sure you sign up for the certificate as well. So Udeme will drop it in the chat section and pin it on the screen. In the next minute or two, Udeme will pin it on the screen so that you can sign up for your certificate. And then if you want to learn alone, even after this session, you feel like, I need to learn more about search engine optimization. I need to learn more about search engine marketing. Please feel free to go to learndigital.withgoogle.com. All right. You can go to learndigital.withgoogle.com and basically learn on your own and get certified on your own. Okay. Learning is lifelong. We keep on learning every day. So that's one thing that you need to ensure you're consistent with. And then follow us on our social media pages: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Google, Digital Skills for Africa, and then Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn as well. Impact Her. You can recommend our trainings to anyone you know, any entrepreneur, any friend, any woman you feel like this training would assist them. So ensure that you can speak the gospel of digital skills to them and encourage them to sign up. So thank you, Udemy. Please make sure you copy the link and paste it on your browser. You sign up for the attendance. Please make sure you sign up for the attendance. Register your attendance on the form. Okay. So that's it for today. Thank you so much. It's been an amazing journey. FIBA has given us her feedback. We enjoyed the sessions. I have enjoyed this last session. Thank you all. I'll see you later. No, I don't think I'll see you later, but you will see me later when you go back to the recordings. So you can always go back to the recordings to relearn and unlearn, like Afiba said. All right. So thank you. Bye bye. Enjoy your evening.